Hello everyone, Rabbi Abe here. Welcome. We are going into the month of Cancer. And according to the ancient Kabbalah, Cancer potentially is the cure not only for cancer, but for every disease, every malady, every illness, both physical and emotional. Let's understand how. This is a 5,000-year-old secret that comes from the Book of Formation. The Kabbalists explain, beginning with Abraham, the patriarch, the characteristic of what we call cancer, and of course, astrologically linked, because by no coincidence is the constellation of Cancer called Cancer, and the disease, coincidentally, you don't believe in coincidence, I hope, that this disease has the same name because it's really ancient in origin. Let's get into it and let's understand, because I'm going to reveal how we go out of that. We have to first understand the problem, we have to understand the lack, and then we need to fulfill it with light. And if we do that, we can make changes, we can heal, we can change, transform things to be better. First off, what is the purpose? Is there a purpose to this idea called cancer? Well, let's go back to the origin of creation, shall we? And what many understand to be the tree of life. Now, the tree of life is composed of 10 different stages. And there are many, let's say, different understandings how to relate to this tree of life. I simply relate it the way the Kabbalists in the Zohar, Rabbi Luria, and the sages who have lineage, who have background, who have expertise in this wisdom. This is not, what I share with you is not from modern day books of, someone's ideas or someone's thoughts. This wisdom comes from a source, and that's the way it needs to be. If we are to study this and use it as a way of life and as a way of understanding life in a true way, then we need that, okay? We need an unbroken chain of knowledge and wisdom that comes from an actual source, not, someone's idea today, okay, or how they see it. No, we have to learn how to see it the way they saw it. Okay, that's how we get to it. That's how we get closer to the source. Okay, having said that, the 10 Sefirot, or rather the tree of life, is comprised of 3 basic components. Okay, they are divided this way. The upper three stages, or what we call the Sefirot, what we call Keter, crown, Chokhmah, wisdom, and Bina, understanding. Then we have a middle portion of 6, which are called Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. And then we have the bottom, which is called Malchut, kingdom. Okay? So we've divided the first 3, the middle 6, and the bottom. I'm going to tell you in brief what they represent and how this relates to the month of Cancer. Firstly, the upper 3 stages, that is crown, wisdom, and understanding, Keter, Chokhmah, and Bina, represent all the spiritual force that belongs to the spiritual world. It is the link, if you will, to the creator force, which we do not understand, okay? Even among the Kabbalists, we do not understand Keter, crown, either, because it is not something we can put our finger on. Let's say it's a little bit like if I'll flip the coin and it'll be under my hand, and while the answer might be known at some level, we don't know what it is until, of course, I take my hand away. So it's known, but it's not known. A little bit like when they say if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a noise? Well, we assume it does, but there's nobody there to hear it, so it's it's not discernible in our level. So the upper 3 levels represent the source of energy. So all energy, all force, and what we call fulfillment in our life is represented by this upper three stages. All right, and more than that, I would have to get into it, more in our coaching classes. All right, be that as it may. And then we have the bottom, the Malchut. Now, the Malchut always represents the physical world, but in a working knowledge, in a working Kabbalah knowledge, the Malchut would represent the force of what we call desire in our life. So desire, as it plays a role in the physical world at any level, it means the place where that energy from the upper three can be, because energy needs a place. It always does. If energy doesn't have a place to be, just like, we can't get what we don't want, okay, at whatever level, whether we're aware of our desires, not aware of our desires, we have unconscious desires. But a better example maybe, if you're closed-minded, if a person is closed-minded, then whatever you say to that person won't penetrate. But it's there. Whatever you're saying is there, but it's not being received. Closed-minded. Where there's no desire, there's no ability to receive. And then we know there are also different levels of desire. So desire is not black and white at the same time. I might have a little desire, I might have a lot of desire. I could be a little bit hungry, I could be more hungry, I could be starving. So desire has stages. And so that level called Malchut, or kingdom, which is at the bottom, represents desire. We're not going to go into stages here. There's no point in that in this discussion. We go into it in other places. But that determines success or failure or everything, right? The level of desire. As the Zohar says, nothing stands before a desire of a person. So perhaps some of the trick in life is having enough desire. And how do you do that? If you don't have enough desire, how do you create more desire? Again, for another place, unfortunately, we can never always discuss everything in one shot. But that's fine. We have the beginning, the source of energy. Then we have the desire for that energy at the bottom of the tree. What's the middle about? What's the middle about? Good question. Good question. In the creation, there is no such thing as a middle. Meaning what? The creative process began with two aspects of energy: light and vessel. Light and vessel. The force of giving, or the source of all energy, and a recipient. In fact, the Kabbalists explain that the Creator created a vessel, which would later become the desires of mankind, or the souls of humanity, potential, the ability to receive the Creator's light. So we have a giver and we have a receiver. And that was fine in the spiritual level. Of course, there's no time in the spiritual level, but at some point, not in time, let's say, but at some point, this changed. And it changed because there came about a need and a desire on the part of the vessel, the desire of mankind, to say, wait a minute, you know what? I want to do what you do, God. Source, energy. I want to also share, because I see real fulfillment is not really in the receiving, but rather in the sharing. Yes, that's what the souls of humanity said. If we're really spiritually tuned, we might also come to that conclusion, even though it's really great to receive, but, there's no feeling like the fact that we accomplish something. In fact, many successful people move on from their successes because they love the journey of accomplishing things, as well as many of us do. No way to gauge the success. It's not always in terms of money, that's for sure. But we can probably say with reasonable certainty that a successful individual is one who is in a state of accomplishing creativity, because that's what fulfills. Let's face it. You can win a tennis game if you're a 40-year-old tennis pro, and you can certainly win against a 6-year-old child who just learned how to play tennis. You may have won, but there's no real sense of accomplishment over there, and you don't really feel the fun or whatever you get from playing tennis, right? No accomplishment there. But if you're playing against, let's say, someone who's supposed to be better than you, and somehow you beat that person, now you feel good, right? What makes us feel good? Think about that. What do we feel? What is accomplishment? Well, accomplishment is actually the risk that we take, that we may not succeed, but because of our effort, we do succeed, and the energy and input we put into it, when we're successful, we feel amazing, we feel creative. That's where positive energy comes from. Positive energy is not in the after effect of receiving. Now, this might be a revelation for many of us, because again, receiving is not the Creator's light. That's not where the light is. It's an effect of the light, but light is only a result of a creative process that we go through in creation and whatever that means. But from the point of view of those Sefirot, those levels of the tree of life, those are the middle six. Those are represented by the middle 6 stages. Remember, we said there's 3 on top, the source of the energy. Then there's the bottom, which represents the force or consciousness of desire. And there's the middle. What is the middle doing? The middle, even though it's a little bit more involved, okay, but again, we'll get into it in our group coaching, which I'll tell you about probably in the end of the seminar this coming Sunday night of angels, because remember, angels seminar, June 30th. And if you're watching this after the fact, that's fine. It'll be available at rabbieabe.com. Okay, so don't worry. That middle 6 Sefirot, middle 6 levels, are what we will call the work of the physical world. Why is that? Because the spiritual world has only 2, light and vessel, fulfillment and desire. But after what we'll call the Big Bang and the process of what in Kabbalah is called the shattering of the vessel and the opportunity to share, I'm skipping about 80 years worth of conversation over here, we have the ability to interact that we did not have before. And the interaction is in not receiving directly the way we did in the spiritual world before creative process began. We received directly from the Creator. And at some point we said, no good. I want to be like you, God, whatever that means. What does it mean to be like God? Which we're given the capacity to do. Like, not to be God, but to be like. So that is what we'll call in Kabbalah, and again, I have to skip a lot of steps here, but that's what we call the central column. The central column. So the upper 3 represent what is called the right column. The right column is the source, the force that comes down, that's available. The Malchut, the bottom of the tree, is the vessel, which is desire. That is the left column, is desire. And that middle, which is the creative element between the two, it stands in between. And what is it doing? It stands in between. It's resisting the connection between the two. I'll get back to it in a minute. Resisting. It's not connecting the two. No. If it were just connecting, what does it need to be there for? Just do like we do usually. I want, I take. So that's a hint. Okay, that's a hint. Let's digress for a moment, because we said we're going to talk about cancer, potential of cures, not only for cancer, according to the Kabbalah, many thousands of years old. The knowledge, the wisdom was there. But what does it actually mean? What cures? What is a cure? Really, what is a cure? Think about it for a minute. And I give the analogy of a dark room. Can you put light into a dark room? Obviously, the answer is yes. Light a match, turn the lights on, open the curtains, let the sun in. The room is now lit. Can you put darkness into a room the same way? No, you cannot. The only way, think about it, the only way to create darkness is a creation, is to cover or conceal that light. Close the blinds, turn the light out, because you cannot add darkness, because darkness is not an entity. You really need to think about that. It's a profound idea if you've never thought about it. Darkness can't be added because it's not an entity. It only represents a lack of light. Anything that is represented by what we call darkness is merely a name which we use to describe a state of lack in a certain area. What is cold? Cold is a lack of warmth. What is depression? Depression is a lack of joy or happiness. What is loneliness? Loneliness is a lack of companionship. What is betrayal? Betrayal is a lack of trust, and so on. So we understand all the different names that we have for what we'll call negativity are merely names for different states of lack that we have named. But again, it only represents some lack of the positive of happiness, of joy, of companionship, of love. It's what hate is. Hate is an absence of love. So now, with that in mind, what is illness? Illness is a lack of health. Well, so how do you remove it? Well, you can't remove it. You can't remove depression. You can't, because you can't remove darkness. No darkness. We can never remove darkness. What can we do, however, is add light, add happiness to the depression, add joy. We must add the positive. You can't take away a negative. If you're right now having money issues, don't say, I don't want to be broke anymore. No. You're focusing on a lack, and you might actually get more lack. I want success. I will work to earn my success. Success is a positive. Yes, that you can say. But never try to get rid of a negative, because that's not possible. If it doesn't really exist, it's a lack. What are you getting rid of exactly? You can't get rid of a state of lack. What we can do is fill it with the positive. And that's the way we need to begin to think. That's the first step. Understanding what our lack is and begin to put it in. What is the lack in Cancer? Well, we go to the sign of Cancer. What is known about Cancer? One word. I don't want to go too deeply into the sign itself, but the word for Cancer is imbalance. Imbalance. And I've spoke about this in other videos on the sign of Cancer. But the crab, which is the Cancer sign, he walks like this: right, left, right, left, right, left. What is he trying to tell us cosmically? What did Abraham, the patriarch, who named Cancer in Hebrew Sartan, which is the Aramaic actually word, which means to remove confusion. What was he saying? This Cancer, this crab is confused. Why is he confused? Because he's this way or that way. He's all one or the other. He's extreme. He has extremes of behavior, extremes of consciousness, emotional extremes. He's happy 1 minute, then he's crying the next minute. What is he lacking? He's lacking a middle. He's lacking what we call the central column, or what we call in Kabbalah the resistance factor. The resistance. Understanding this principle, and I understand if it's not going to be 100% clear in this video, but at least you should know the word. The factor of resistance between the right and the left, because it's the factor of resistance between right and left that would enable him to move straight. But by his nature, he doesn't have that. And that's true of any extreme behavior. For any of us, not Cancerians, we're talking about the month, the cosmic energy of the month, in which we are all affected. Extreme behavior, not recommended in this month. Extreme emotions, not recommended in this month, whatever it might be. Even extreme happiness. Is extreme happiness the reality? Really? I know you might think so, but if you're extremely happy today, why? Well, something happened. Now I'm really happy. What are you tomorrow? Are you still extremely happy? If the answer is no, then that extreme happiness was not real, because what's real stays. And therefore, happiness should be a constant in our life, not one day up and one day down. No. So extremes are not real. And extremes on either end of the scale, good or bad, are an indication of some imbalance somewhere. I don't want to go into it's self-serving, more than likely, but it's an extreme of behavioral understanding, how we react to a situation in an extreme, or how we behave in general in extremes. So, of course, the easy answer would be, don't behave in an extreme. Don't allow yourself. Now, easy for Rabbi Abe to say, not so easy to do. You know, it's interesting. The seed of all diseases is written about in the Bible, and it had a name. There was no name for cancer formally yet. Yes, the constellation existed, but it wasn't commonly known for that particular disease. But the name of the disease was called leprosy. And leprosy, according, biblically, is really the code name for every generation has its leprosy, which means the disease of the generation. And it's written about in chapter 13 of Numbers, and just before the end of chapter 12, where, if you recall, if you know your Bible stories, Miriam, Moses' sister, and his brother Aaron, at some point in the story, they spoke about their brother Moses. And, they said, we're all prophets, why Moses married, Moses was married, and actually he had to divorce his wife, but we won't go into all this, stories over here. But anyway, they spoke about Moses, and God said, okay, all of you go into the meeting, the tent of the meeting. And what happened? Vayichar af Hashem bam, and the Creator, it says, was angered, whatever that meant. All right, that's like the finger in the socket. And Vayifen Aaron el Miriam ve'ini mitzorat, and Aaron turned to Miriam, his sister, and she was leprous. All of a sudden, she was leprous. She had leprosy. She got leprosy. And we learn that Miriam, the prophetess, again, not on her own behalf, but she got leprosy. Now, leprosy, apparently, it was the result of speaking slander. Evil speech, it's called. Okay? That's the story over here. It has many, many ramifications, and I don't want you to limit by that, because the selfish desire in speaking, and we're not judging Miriam the prophetess by no means, but selfish behavior that's manifest does have its ramifications, okay? When there is intense emotional distress, whatever it's from, stress, when we become stressed out because of something or someone, and it affects us emotionally, there will generally be a physical result. For sure, we know the immune system becomes depressed, it gets lowered, and a person becomes more susceptible to any disease, whatever it might be. That's a fact. We know that today, medical science. Perhaps they didn't know that maybe in biblical times, but then, then they said, Moses, pray for her. And it says, Vayitzak Moshe el Adonai lemor el narefa na la. Moses cried, or rather prayed to God, and used these very powerful 11 letters, which we are going to learn about in the Angel's Course, okay? And we're going to learn how to use them for healing. It says, El Narafanala, oh God, please heal her. Of course, these 11 letters are a code, not to be taken literally, but they happen to literally also make some sense. It was a code for healing. But what was the disease? What was the disease? The disease was what we will call a short circuit. What's a short circuit? Short circuit. Short circuit causes a shock. Short circuit causes a bulb to burn out. Short circuit causes problems. Short circuits in life. When do we short circuit? When we put our desire for ourselves directly together with our desire, and we do it. When we're selfish. Now, we're mostly selfish. I don't want to put it that simply. But selfish has certain extremes in behavioral patterns, in emotional patterns. And so when we are not in balance, when it's only right and left, meaning I want, I take, it opens us up to problems, okay? Then other things need to come in, like our karmic process, like, other things, circumstances, and so on. So I don't want to oversimplify it, but this is the seed level. Everything is built on this principle of 3. 3 indicates a balance. We have to know how to use that 3. Proton, electron, and neutron. The bulb has a plus, a minus, and a filament. Everything is built on this principle of 3. Except, of course, there's an exception in matter of the elements. The oldest element, which you might know as the hydrogen atom, is a throwback to creation, only has 2. And that's a sign, that's a hint to going back to the spiritual world before the Big Bang, because it has only 1 proton and 1 electron, which is an anomaly in science from the perspective of the elements, okay? And that is why it's connected to the creation. Hydrogen, okay, without going into that. So what do we want to know in the month of Cancer? Well, simple tools. Look for the balance in everything. This is the month to look for balance. Don't allow yourself to go into emotional extremes. According to the Kabbalists, the energy of Cancer is drawn in the month of Cancer. I'm talking about the illness. And the energy of the cure for Cancer, the ultimate balance state, is also drawn in Cancer. The Kabbalists explain that Cancer cannot begin only in this month, the month of Cancer. So this month, yes, it's good idea to be extra careful, because that imbalance exists by nature of the constellation of right and left. It is one of the months that it says in the Zohar that we should be careful. We shouldn't start new projects, make major purchases, do anything, start anything important in the month of Cancer. It's a month of concealment where the natural balance force, which is called the divine presence or Shekhinah, is not necessarily present by nature. It requires our spiritual work to put it in manually. So it's not on automatic this month. And therefore, there's different safeguards. Many people do not perform marriages in this month. Different things, again, when it comes down to starting brand new things, because that's the seed level. And the seed level we want to have as balanced and as, strong as possible. It's a very strong month, don't get me wrong. We have the power of the moon, and the moon is all focused on 1 month. But remember, the moon also is the force of lack, buying within itself, and we're the ones that need to create the place, the central column, to be able to handle the light that's being focused into this month, which it's possible to do. That's why the cure for all forms of cancer, a cancer in a business, a cancer in whatever, health issues, mental, physical, business, relationship issues, everything can have this energy of Cancer. We want to heal it. We can't remove it. We need to add something in. Remember what we said. We need to add the central column. There's nothing to remove. When there's lack, you can't remove a lack. You need to put in the central column. That's what's missing. And when we put in that central column, by injecting balance, by stopping before we react in a situation and say, wait a second, what's the most balanced thing to do here? What's good for everybody in the situation? Not only me. Don't think only about yourself this month. Look how you can benefit other people, because this month it will pay off big time, because this is the month where we are able to draw down the balance that we create in this month, and this will benefit us all year, because this month contributes that central column, that ability to balance, and the force of all health and healing to the entire year. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you made it through the entire video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and please share. This is such an important lesson for everybody, okay? Remember the Angel Seminar, and I'll see you very, very soon in the next video. All the best.